Witten up a game. But game 2, looks like Joe might be able to force a third here as we see both players, 4 lands in play. Joe with a Jace in play, a Rhino in exile. A lot of trading has gone on here. Joe actually up a game, correction here.
One of the strengths of Joe's deck is the ability to outcard opponents that are playing on a fair axis. Is able to get a bunch of extra cards, and the Bring to Light has a very powerful toolbox. Treasure Cruise to refill, so as long as you're not just killing him with something like Rally the Ancestors, he can go toe-to-toe with a lot of value.
Yeah, now the most recent addition to his deck is all the way up to 3 copies of Pulse of Marasa now.
That's spicy. I like that quite a lot.
Yeah.
Has some Den Protectors to go with it, so given enough mana investment, that Pulse could get back any card in the graveyard.
Yeah, and the gaining 6 life is something he's pretty interested in.
Yeah, certainly on the early turns, he can kind of fall behind. He's just playing a bunch of different colors and a lot of expensive spells.
So Grasp of Darkness was attempted by Zack Witten. Looks like it was dispelled, however. Joe wanting to flip that Jace will go back to him. Looks like he'll get to. Another Dispel in his hand. Post board, Joe with 2 copies of Dispel.
Dispel much more impactful against Grixis than it is against a deck like Mardu Green, because you can dispel pretty much everything that matters, whereas you couldn't dispel a Dark Dwellers.
Yeah, it's not bad against Mardu Green, but you're absolutely right where it can miss.
Mm-hmm.
So Jace will loot, discard Utter End, flip into a Planeswalker, the Telepath Unbound. Now at 5 counters. I see Joe has Treasure Cruise in hand, and it looks like a graveyard of 7 cards, so that's definitely available to him.
Yep. Joe's possibly thinking about the fact that he can't really cast another spell this turn and just leave up the Dispel with his mana and pay as much mana as he can on the board to cast the Treasure Cruise and leave that Dispel up.
So it looks like Treasure Cruise tapping 3, delving 5. We'll see what he wants to leave here.
Yeah, wants to make sure that he doesn't exile something he'll want to use later with Pulse of Marasa or Den Protector.
Yep, he gets rid of the Pulse, so he leaves Kolaghan's Command and Utter End in the yard. Draws 3.
Yeah, and got rid of the Dispel. Of course, he has the extra copy in his hand anyway.
Draws a Den Protector and a Jace. So his hand is now Dispel 2 Jaces, Den Protector. Missed the land drop, though.
A full land and a green source off of casting Bring to Light. Worth noting.
And it'll be Kalitas from Zack Witten. That cannot be dispelled, so it will resolve. Last card in Joe's hand appears to be a Kolaghan's Command. Maybe not. We'll find out. Land for Joe is Cinderglade. And despite having a lot of cards, he's low on removal right now. I suppose he can flashback something out of the graveyard.
Yeah, has access to that Utter End that could deal with Kalitas.
Oh, and well, correction, this isn't a Jace. This is a Nissa Vastwood Seer.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Drew the land for the turn, so he made that land drop, but this will ensure the land drop next turn.
Finds one of his forests. He plays 2. A bold man. 2 forests, 2 Nissas.
It lines up perfectly. You have every forest you need.
I think that factors in. You just don't want to ever fetch for the forest because that means you can't Nissa for the forest.
I imagine it does. It's also the case that the way that Joe's early spells lined up, Nissa is kind of the first spell on his curve where he's really trying to have a green mana source in play.
So he plays the Nissa. What this means, though, is that Zack gets to untap with Kalitas, and I'm worried if I'm Joe that this Nissa is going to get exiled by the Vampire.
Yeah, Joe has Dispel, so he's kind of confident there, but I believe I also spotted a Dispel in Witten's hand, so removal spell plus Dispel could be a huge swing for Zack.
I mean, it was hard for Joe to play. I guess he could have tried to just flash back the Utter End that turn with Dispel up and not gone for Nissa. Would have been the way to play around this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. It's Chandra, Dig Through Time, and Dispel in Witten's hand. So, doesn't actually have the kill spell. And it's going to be Dig Through Time from Zack Witten. He delves away his whole graveyard. Joe will dispel. Zack will dispel back. And now he'll go to the top 7 cards.
Yeah, what I like about the dig through time play here is the ability to leave up Dispel. You know, Joe had Dispel, not Negate. There's no way for Zack to know that, and Joe did have Negate mana up. So if he just went for the Chandra, it could just get countered.
Disdainful Stroke, Fetch Land, Kalitas, Jace, another Disdainful Stroke. Those are some options. He's selected 2 cards. So to go with Chandra, he picks up a Duress. And then we'll see what the last one is. So Duress takes, that was the gold card, Silumgar's Command out of Joe's deck. Leaves him with Jace and Den Protector.
Silumgar's Command is a pretty spicy card. Pretty much only see Joe play it.
Yeah, well the thing is that I've talked to some of the other Bring to Light players, you know, all 2 of them. But they all speak volumes about this card, that having it as a 1-of in your deck is really strong. Now, people aren't playing as many Gideons as they used to. So there used to be a time where if someone ever curved Mantis Rider into Gideon against you, you would just -3/-3 and blow up a Planeswalker with this, and now you'd win. This card's still so powerful, though, as a 1-of in the deck.
Yeah, if you're able to get it on 5, there's a lot of Sylvan Advocates that you can kill, perhaps in tandem with countering a non-creature spell, or even just a tempo swing of, say, bouncing a creature land.
Sure. Now, there was no attack from the Kalitas there. It was a 1/4, so it wasn't really going to do much.
Right, yeah, that Jace just plussed on it, so.
Exactly. 3 mana for Joe. It's going to be Painful Truths for 3. Imagine Zack would have duressed that one if he could have, but.
Yeah, that's a quite fortunate top deck for Joe from a healthy 18 life.
Yeah, here's 3 cards. Siege Rhino, the first of the trio. Silk Wrap. And Utter End. That is huge game for Joe there. A great threat, some universal answers. Jace will plus on this Kalitas. Jace goes to 8.
Yeah.
It feels like Chandra or bust here for Zack, which he's going to get to Chandra next turn. So,
yeah, he has the Chandra in his hand. It's unclear if Chandra is actually better than bust, though.
Well, yeah, well, you can't play bust in this format. So.
Yeah, drawing that would just be a straight game loss.
You know, this actually, the fact that he got the Kolagun's Command is pretty good. It was Joe's way to remove the Chandra. Now, Joe has drawn Utter End.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chandra -2, take care of those not yet Planeswalkers on Joe's side. Make a couple of zombies is a reasonable swing.
Seems pretty great. Here's Chandra.
You get to pressure the Jace off the emblem with the Kalitas.
Joe had another land. He could have utter-ended away. I don't know. And I feel like Joe is paying for not utter-ending the Kalitas here.
I'm inclined to agree. Though Joe still has a ton of cards in his hand, the board position is still manageable. Joe has some number of Languish in his 75, I believe.
He is no longer playing the Languish.
He cut Languish. That makes his position a lot worse for Joe.
He has a Crux of Fate still in the deck.
Okay, that's good.
But you're right, that makes it a lot tougher. Joe drawing a land for the turn. So Kalitas hit the Jace down to 7. It was a 1/4, so it went from 8. The Jace went from 8 to 7.
Yeah, leaving that on 8 would not be great. Joe would just be able to emblem this turn and possibly close the game that way.
But Joe's got to be able to, he's got to get this Chandra off the table to start, right? So he's going to give the Silumgar's Command flashback. Destroy target Planeswalker, -3 a creature. So Chandra's gone, zombie token's gone. Here's Silk Wrap, the other zombie's gone. Joe will pass.
Yeah, and we're approximately back to where we were a turn ago, though the Kalitas can now attack the Jace down to 1.
Well, Jace goes to 1, Zack goes to 18. There was no creature land for Zack, so that was helpful. Where is Zack going from here? We'll see. Looks like he's got another threat. Joe still with lots of answers in hand, though. Zack's going to have to grind through these. It looks like we have Tasigur the Golden Fang. Big fan of this card. We haven't seen him for quite a while, though.
I've cast Tasigur significantly more in Modern than I have in Standard. But in Standard, it's still pretty good.
Well, speaking of good things, how about Joe's draw? It's a copy of Abzan Charm. If his mana lines up right, he can Abzan Charm and Utter End this turn.
That would be huge for Joe. And in this turn with Zack's board so much cleaner, has a lot more ability to play just the spells he wants to play.
He's going to Utter End the Tasigur. But he has not left himself mana to use the Abzan Charm. Disdainful Stroke took care of the Utter End. And he'll play Den Protector face down. Now, I'm a little curious that I guess he only had single white up in all his lands.
That's one thing about playing a 5-color deck. You're not guaranteed to be able to do everything you want to do.
7 lands in play, and he still doesn't have the double white. Oh, that's so hard. And it's really going to cost him. This is going to pay in terms of Tasigur activations now. Here's a Tasigur activations. He flips into the graveyard. We have Chandra. It looks like Chandra Dispel, Disdainful Stroke.
I want to say one of the flip cards was Anticipate, like the FNM promo.
Oh, okay. He does play 3. You're absolutely right.
Frequently when my opponent activates Tasigur in Modern, I just give them Serum Visions or Thought Scour because I know that the other cards are good and that card just might miss. Or you look for something that just lines up poorly against your hand as is. So it looks like he's thinking about Disdainful Stroke. So, maybe Joe is just trying to win this game with a bunch of 3-mana spells.
That's pretty hard. Joe does have a Rhino in hand. It's not like this is a dead card. Yeah, maybe he just has to give him Anticipate. Hope it misses.
Yeah, give him a card that's going to cost 2 mana and might not have any reasonable return.
I mean, your other options are giving him Chandra, which is probably not an option, or giving him Chandra and Dig Through Time are far too powerful.
Those are right out.
Chooses to give him a Disdainful Stroke. Here come the creatures, both at Jace. Joe cannot protect the Jace. Well, maybe if he wants to chump with Den Protector, he could. That seems foolish.
Right.
Jace hits the graveyard. Zombie, nope. It's a Planeswalker, so it's not going to be exiled. It goes to his graveyard.
Yeah, Kalidas is not worded like Anafenza, which would actually exile the Jace.
Because it's from anywhere as opposed to from the battlefield.
Right. Kind of weird having those two effects in Standard at the same time. Yeah.
Like how Kalidas exiles tokens and Anafenza doesn't stop tokens from hitting the graveyard.
Yeah.
There's subtle differences.
Things work differently on Zendikar. I almost said Innistrad because Kalidas is a vampire. We're not there yet.
Soon.
Things also work differently on Innistrad. So Joe left Zack with that Disdainful Stroke, and Joe has drawn Siege Rhino for his turn.
Well, he already had one Rhino in hand, so now he's got a pair of them?
I think so. I could be mistaken.
He's got Abzan Charm Rhino.
Okay.
He can just Abzan Charm down these cards, though. He's got to get the Tasigur off the table, I think.
Right. You're either forcing Zack to cast Disdainful Stroke or giving him a Tasigur activation this turn. And that kind of stuff definitely adds up. Not only in terms of the Tasigur just putting a card in Zack's hand, but also fueling future Dig Through Times.
Now, I'm not sure he has to get the Kalidas just yet. He can take a couple hits off that.
Yeah.
Here we go. 3 mana being set aside. That looks like Abzan Charm. And exiling away will be the Golden Fang.
Yeah, make him choose between activating and leaving up Disdainful Stroke.
He'll activate. So, looks like Murderous Cut and a land. And Joe's gonna give him a Duress. His hand's just a Rhino.
Yeah, can't arrest that one. Joe's just going to play whatever he draws off the top as well.
All right, so that works. Now we'll see the Tasigur get exiled. Actually, we could see it's possible we see Joe get a Rhino, sneak a Rhino under that Disdainful Stroke. He could also just Abzan Charm away the Kalidas as well.
Yeah, if we cast Rhino, we're putting ourselves off of flipping up Den Protector this turn.
So a kill spell's bad news. But Joe will go ahead and play the Siege Rhino. He's going to get it past Disdainful Stroke. Zack down to 13, Joe to 17. And now we get a draw from Zack. This is big.
kill spell is huge, not just because of the Den Protector, but also because of the Cletus in play.
And great spot for Joe. Looks like it was basic island was the draw. So now Zack has just a Cletus in play. It's not big enough to really tangle with the Siege Rhino. It's as good as dead to the Den Protector.
Gotta wonder if Zack was better off not activating Tasigur. Just being able to counter the Rhino.
With a duress in his graveyard, that's not unreasonable.
You know, Joe did hand you the Disdainful Stroke, which signals that Joe doesn't have anything that will be countered by it. But it's a very risky window. You're behind if a Siege Rhino comes in.
I mean, I still think I like it from Zack because there is a Den Protector that you can't kill. I like that Zack plays it this way, and then he just needs to draw something good. You know, say he draws a dig through time there or something else, then actually Zack's probably ahead.
Yes.
But he missed his draw, his window, so now he's behind in a big way too.
Right.
Not a great look at the draw from Joe.
He's got a lot of options just with that Den Protector on the table alone. I think you really want to get the Cletus off the table this turn.
You just get to.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Well, that's good. Treasure Cruise.
Once again, Joe is just thinking about what he wants to leave in his graveyard, how much mana he can reasonably invest into this.
I can't imagine Obs on Charms getting exiled. It's so good here.
Yeah, leave up the option to flip up the Den Protector and deal with the Cletus no matter what the Treasure Cruise finds.
Yeah, and how wealthy that he's considering delving away Painful Truths. He's got Utter End, Dispel, Painful Truths, Obs on Charm. He needs to exile one of them.
Outside of flipping up Den Protector and casting Dispel, the Dispel is not very good here. We know that we gave Zack a Duress. I think I would be exiling that one.
He chooses the Utter End, yep. So here comes 3 cards for Joe. And it was Disdainful Stroked, which we kind of knew.
Right.
So now Zack's hand just that Duress. A swing was in with Den Protector. Joe's taking it slow. Draws another Cletus for Zack Witten.
Yeah, Joe also could have used the Den Protector to get the Dispel on that Disdainful Stroke and resolve the Treasure Cruise. Resigned to the fact that he just has better top decks than Zack, I think is what he's going off of. Though I'd be very enticed to just draw 3 cards.
Well, he can just get back the Treasure Cruise.
That's true as well, though it doesn't have very much fuel for it anymore.
Painful Truths then. How about the other Treasure Cruise in our graveyard?
That one's a little more efficient.
Draws a land. Now, you'll notice Joe with those fetch lands here, he at some point does have to pay attention to his lands in play. So, interesting part about his deck is that he has 10 fetchable lands, and 8 are in play right now. So, the only thing that one can get is it can get a basic Plains.
Yeah, Joe's played this deck so much, and he's so used to playing fetch lands that I can't imagine that he's going to find himself with a fetch land that can't find anything.
Yeah, well, it's important to know if you're Zack if Joe's lands are dead as well.
That's true. We could see Joe perhaps end up bluffing down the road with a land that can't find anything.
Sure. So Joe's going to Crackling Doom. Zack will go to 12. Now maybe a swing for 7, and indeed Zack down to 5. Den Protector and Siege Rhino in Joe's hand. That's a lot of damage. A draw from Zack as a Swamp. Duress, he's not going to like what he sees here. It is 2 creatures, and it is going to kill him. Cletus is the play.
Don't think that one's going to be good enough.
Not with that Den Protector that can flash, in hand that gets back Crackling Doom. I don't think so.
Yep, Joe looks to have the requisite mana for this 8 mana play.
Grinding it out. These Den Protectors looks like they might get it done. Yeah, Zack's hand's 2 basics, so as long as Joe goes for it, this will succeed.
And Joe doesn't have much incentive to try anything else. You could just play the Siege Rhino and pass. That's fine. And then you can also leave up Den Protector and the ability to flip it up. Which I think is probably the safer play.
Yeah, I mean, you might play a Den Protector here and then swing the Siege Rhino. I don't know. A lot of ways to play it. I think most of them will get there for Joe.
Yeah. Joe doesn't know that Zack is just on 2 lands in hand, so I imagine he'll do something conservative.
Is Joe's style to play around everything. Here is the Den Protector face down. You see in the graveyard he has Dispel, Kolagon's Command, Obzon Charm, Treasure Cruise, Painful Truths, Crackling Doom.
Lot of paths to victory.
The flip up on Den Protector will get back Crackling Doom. He's going to go for the kill. Here's Crackling Doom on Kalidas. Zack will go to 3, and that'll be 0. Joe Losset, 2 games to 0. 5-color Bring to Light is your winner.
Yeah, and on that turn when Joe could have used the Den Protector to dispel the Disdainful Stroke and instead next turn invested 3 mana and 3 lives into the Painful Truths, it did cost him some intangibles, though nothing that really mattered.